and welcome to the Refined Strength podcast. I'm joined by my suit designer and maker, Krista Haynes from KH Customs. So happy to have you on. I've only met you in person once at the Arnold this year, and I really wanted to have you on to just like talk everything suits, but also just like business too, because you've built such an amazing business and community that I just think more people need to know more about.
Thank you. And it was so funny when we were at the Arnold's. I was looking for you and we were like all huddled around waiting to talk to you. And it was the cutest thing. So I'm like, there's Rachel. There she is.
And you were all in your like bright pink KH Customs sweatshirts too. So I was like, there's something
Yeah.
going on over there. I need to figure it out.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations. I know it's been a year since you moved into your house. That's so
Yes.
exciting. It honestly feels like just yesterday. I'm sure it feels like just yesterday that you just got the keys.
Yeah, it really does. And it's funny because like there's been so many things that I've done and like me and Austin, my boyfriend, have done to the house to just like not only make it into something like we made improvements on it to like little things here and there to fix it up and make it better for like renters one day or something like that, because that's the ultimate goal, but also just like making it a home, and making it really make sense for our lifestyle. Like I have this podcast studio type situation here, got plants and dogs are over here, painted walls, things like that. So yeah, it's really fun.
That's so nice. We moved too. We used to have like a live work. So
Yeah.
we had Cage Customs at the bottom and we lived on top
Oh,
and
okay.
had four small rescues at the time. They were all seniors, so they all passed away within 2 years of each other. We
Oh, wow.
readopted for larger breeds, and then we're like literally stuck in like a condo with four large dogs, and we're like, what are we gonna do? So we made like a
Maybe we should move.
life move, found a place where like we have the garage, like a separate garage where we have like our gym and then Cage Customs upstairs, and it's totally detached from the house. So it's super cool. It's a super nice layout. So like we
That's
did the
awesome.
same thing within the last year.
I wish you weren't so far. I would totally come and visit, but one day I'll make it up there and
One
get like
day.
the whole KH Customs experience.
Well,
But,
maybe you'll do the
uh,
Toronto Pro one day.
huh?
Maybe you'll do the Toronto Pro one day.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Toronto looks really cool, just like as a city to visit. And I think it was 2021 that because I that's when I last competed. I really wanted to do a Canada show, either the Toronto Pro or I don't
Vancouver.
know if there was like, I think the Ben Weeder Pro at that time was like, had been in Canada or something, and then it moved to the US and then it never left the US.
Hmm.
Something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. But so tell me about like how you began in terms of like making suits. I know you were a competitor at one point. Tell like your origin story and like what made you decide like I got to make suits.
Okay, so my husband competed for over 10 years. I loved watching him. I loved being involved in the sport. Even prior to meeting him, like in my early teens, I had like Frank McGrath posters and Animal Pack posters on my wall. I brought them to like the school gym and I like plastered them everywhere. And like people are like, what is this like 14, 15, 16-year-old girl doing? Like just obsessed with bodybuilding. And
Yeah,
fast
that's
forward,
rare.
that always stayed with me. Fast forward, I met my husband. He was really like he was always kind of top three, top two at nationals, never got his pro card, but that was the goal. And then throughout that time, I said like, "Hey, I want to compete. I'd love to compete." So I competed once. It was kind of a difficult experience for me. I grew up with disordered eating. So, of course, going through that process, I kind of went back into a bad little area for about 2 years. And then once I kind of got over that hump after the 2 year mark, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this again. And my husband's like, no, you're
You
not
should
going
do.
to do this again. And then I was like, well, how do I stay involved in the industry? And he literally
Oh.
told me one night, he's like, make suits. And I was like,
Had you already been like
no,
crafty or
crafty. Yes, yes, I'm crafty, but I never owned a sewing machine, never knew how to
okay.
sew, none of that stuff. Like I'm just a kind of handsy person. Like I'm hands on. I like
Yeah.
craft. So he's just like, you can totally do it. And so I was like, okay. So we went to Walmart that night and like just bought like a random sewing machine. And from that day forward, I just started to learn how to sew. And the funniest part of all of that was like, so my little sister Kyla, she's an IFBB fitness pro.
Yeah.
So I just asked her if I could bedazzle her fitness routine costume.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she just threw me like a sports bra and a pair of shorts, and we bedazzled it into like this gorgeous leopard print. And that's really when everything started kind of just like blowing up. And that was 2015. And people were like, oh my goodness, you make suits, you make suits. And I was like, well, no, I'm still teaching myself how to sew. So I connected with a lady, and she decided to sew my patterns for me, and I'd stone them. And then that would be the product while I was still teaching myself how to sew and making everything perfect.
Mhm.
So I sold 8 suits, and I was so excited. And the lady sends me the 8 suits ready to stone with everyone's measurements, the colors that they wanted, all the specifications. Rachel, I got them, and I just burst into tears. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to hide under a rock. This is just going to be like my one and done. I'm just going to go and sink and like hide. And the girls were like, these were October shows. And I think I got the suits around their 6 week out mark. So like, I knew I had to like stone them and get them out.
Yeah.
And I was
Were
like,
they
okay,
like not
like
well done?
they were horrible. They were like diapers. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know. But I just bawled and bawled. And my husband said, well, you're not sleeping until you get what you want. And that is literally what I did. I like did not sleep, tears pouring out of me for like days. And then finally it was coming together. Like finally I made it happen, because you
Wow.
know what you want to see.
Yeah.
And that was just the biggest struggle, was just knowing what I wanted to see. Okay, doing it, trying it on, okay, it's not perfect. Doing it, trying it on, okay, it's not perfect. So I was kind of like my own little model at the time as well, because
Yeah.
I was just making sure everything was perfect. And yeah, we nailed it. We nailed it out of the park. Well, we being me, and then my husband
You.
is my biggest
You
cheerleader.
and your husband, like the moral support.
Yeah, and that's honestly how it took off. And that was the like end of 2015. And then 2016 just kind of like, we just really like kind of skyrocketed. There weren't many suit designers at the time, and not many in Canada, and we went in with an affordable strategy. And that's like, it really just took right off. It really took right off. I think I'm probably rambling here, but I think before we started, I used a very, very well known suit designer that's not in business anymore when I competed. And she was like the Gucci of suits. And so when I received my suit, I was just like, you know what? I can do this. Like, I can totally do this.
Yeah.
And then that's what happened. I just kind of did it, and we went in, at a more affordable price, and that's kind of what kind of I feel like spread the way for more affordable suits altogether, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, and especially just having the options to, like, you are KH Customs and you really shine with your custom suits. Like, I think my favorite part about you and how you do work is like someone can send you a picture of a butterfly or like a picture of a feather and just be like, "Can you make a suit that like does this?" And you'll just make it come to life. And that's what's so cool about it is you're like the custom aspect is truly custom. It's not just like, the same patterns that everyone sees.
Yeah.
um what about your, like, how did you go about like the strategy of just making it more affordable in order to still make money for you guys?
You know what? It was more so we're more of like a volume based. I hired a team, so it wasn't just me. So once you start obviously hiring and diversifying your employees, then that's kind of where you kind of get the stepping stone of, okay, well, it's not me working 80 hours a week anymore, and you're taking a step back, and that's just basically how that's done. But in such a small niche market such as competition suits, I was very, very, very blessed to find my seamstress, who is like, she is like the backbone of KH Customs. She's behind the scenes, like she holds it all together, like she holds us together. And I was so blessed to find her very early in 2016, and ever since, just being able to lean on somebody else and split the work, and just that little aspect you can't do it yourself, but it's very, very
Yeah.
hard. I talk to suit designers here, great community, like honestly, because there's really it's not competition. There are thousands of competitors out there, and there
Yeah.
are like a small market of suit designers. So it's really nice. Like the girls that run their companies are awesome, awesome, great girls. But I find the biggest struggle is really being able to grow from just yourself. And that's kind of the conversations we're having here is, like it's very difficult to grow. It's very difficult to find employees, especially in such a niche market where you're designing for bodybuilders. We're not designing for
Mhm.
average people. And,
Yeah.
girls have to understand you'll never find someone that loves your business as much as you, but you got to try as hard as you can to find someone that does share that passion.
Yeah.
And I think that is the number one thing, is that we've been able to kind of piece teams together, groups of girls that understand that bodybuilders go through years of their life prepping for 3 minutes, like not even 3 minutes, like one day, 15
Yeah.
seconds. And that is what you have to put into every single suit. And it's very, very difficult to do that, especially with the ups and downs. And, I know companies through COVID, like they shut down. So it's
Yeah.
just, it's the team building that it's the most difficult part, but it is the most beneficial part.
Are most of the people on your team either current or past competitors?
You know what? Only one. So Natasha,
Oh,
she does our
that's
social
funny.
media.
Yeah.
So she's really the only current competitor and ever like competitor ever. We
Okay.
have really good artists, and real honestly, they're actually just very passionate moms, to be honest
Mm,
with you, that
that's
wanted
awesome.
something to be involved in and feel like there's some sense of community. So it's cute because they're very behind the scenes, but there's so much involved in the community. Like they're entrenched in the community, even though they never really knew that the bodybuilding world existed. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, just Nat actually.
That's funny. Yeah, it's cool because like everyone knows, especially females, probably not men as much, but like the feeling of getting your suit for the first time in the mail and just like that it kind of is like that next level of like, oh shit, this is real. Like I'm doing this. I just invested money in this thing and it's beautiful in front of me and like you guys clearly do so much to make it like make that experience a really positive one. Like down to like how you wrap the bag and everything that you put in there, and also just the fact that you take such detail in like the measurements and how to fit someone. I know like the biggest question I get from clients is like how much weight will I lose in a prep, and I because you guys ask like that tentative number. What is how have you like trained your team and how have you gotten to a place where you can pinpoint that and just like make it fit so well when
Mhm.
someone's like finally ready to step on stage?
You know what? That is like, I call it bikini science.
Yeah.
It is like bikini science. It really is. To be honest, I truly just feel like I have a knack for it. And I think
Mhm.
that's why I'm here to begin with. And we are where we are to begin with. It's really just, I take their history, their overall physique, if it's their first show or not, the coach, because a lot of those things, it really boils down to who they're coached by. If that coach is driven to put them on stage at at a certain look, um,
Yeah.
the organization, it's a whole bunch of different things, whether they be transformation, what their ultimate goal is. There's just so many different finishing points. We do some updates throughout before production, but really our hard deadline is really about the 6 week out mark. So a lot of
Mhm.
stuff can happen with that 6 week out mark.
Yeah.
There's so many different variables, but for example, girls with natural busts that are coming down into stage conditioning are like, we're the hardest. Like I'm naturally very full busted. So when I went through the suit process, I said like, hey, like I'm a double D, probably going to drop to like a B, but they're just going to be sock puppets. So like, what do I do? So at the time, the suit designer, she's like, okay, well, I'll make you a C cup. And that was the coolest, biggest learning point for me, because when I received my suit, because I came down from a double D, my chest cavity was still a double D,
Mhm.
but I had sock puppets. So
Yeah.
my suit cut me off. So that was kind of very cool as a client, understanding that going into making suits, is that a lot of girls say, okay, my chest is going to drop, it's going to drop, it's going to drop. It is going to drop, but your double D chest cavity is not going to actually start coming in for a couple years.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to balance that out. So for some girls that are naturally heavy busted, we will be very, 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 like, I will sometimes have to push our shipping date
Hmm.
because we're trying to get the perfect cup size. And a lot of
Interesting.
that also comes from investing in a practice suit. And this is
Yeah.
more so particularly, I'm speaking of figure competitors, just because
Hmm.
they're not as easily adjustable.
Yeah.
But that investment of a practice suit, if anyone's listening to this, I would always suggest whatever designer you're working with, invest in their practice suit before or during the process of ordering your competition suit. It
Yeah.
really, really helps amplify those check-ins, amplify the communication, because what some people don't know is that we're all different. Like, we create all of our own patterns. So not one
Yeah.
designer is going to be the same. So you're doing yourself and the designer a disservice if, like, you're like, oh, hey, I have a KHCustoms practice suit, but I'm going to go work with X, Y, and Z company. Because
Yeah.
it's like, like, and then that suit designer's in the same position where they're saying, hey, like, it's not going to be the same fit. And then just to avoid overall disappointment, the communication aspect of it all is really key.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, is the practice suit. I'd say, yeah, especially with figure competitors, because the suit for a figure competitor is so different from, like, a standard bikini. Whereas, like, for a bikini competitor, it's like the way that we see your physique is similar to how we see it in a standard bikini, especially if you have a cheekier bottom. But I think a great example is one of my clients, who I think she had an initial either practice suit from you, and then we ended up having her get another one to test out the cut of her bottoms because she needed a wider gusset. And
Mm-hmm.
which is like, for people that don't know, it's like the bottom piece, the piece that goes over your lower region, right? And
Yeah.
she just is like wider set down there, and I had remembered seeing her in her stage suit that was not yours back when we first started working together, her first show, because I actually took her over during her peak week. And I remember knowing that it was just a little too thin and it didn't look great on her. And I think we emailed you and said, like, hey, here's what this looks like, here's what we want it to look like, let's make the practice suit like this to test out the cut. And then I believe you made her stage suit to match that cut, right?
Is this Brienne that we're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it
that
is.
was really cool because she was so happy to get that suit. And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, no, no. I think we're having a little bit of, I have full bars, but for some reason I keep on seeing trying to reconnect, and you're
Oh no, you froze.
freezing on me for some reason, but I'll keep on going here. But no, and that's the thing too, is everyone, your hips are different. Sometimes after birth too, like after childbirth, your hips are a little bit wider. So if you're getting a competitor there that's coming straight from postpartum, like 9 months, you may need to make a wider cut. And then that wider
Mhm.
cut might not even work that following year when she's 2 years postpartum. So it's just like, there's just so many different things that I just call it bikini
You
science.
just have to learn the body and,
You
yeah,
learn the
really look at
body.
the person's physique when they send in their initial photos.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to talk about, like, because a big question that a lot of new competitors have is like the best color to go with, or the best like color scheme. How do you go about like advising on that for different coloring in athletes, like hair, skin color, eyes, that kind of thing?
That's funny because first time competitors are always like, they have to get the perfect color down. They have to get it right. It's the biggest thing in the world. And then you compete again and again and again. And then you kind of start realizing that there's a little pool of colors that are going to work really good for you. You're going to have, and that's why I never like putting anyone inside of a box. I'm not going to say, oh, hey, Rachel, you know what? You have to wear red, like red
Mhm.
or bust. It's
Yeah.
always, it's what you're bringing to the stage. Sometimes, for example, girls want that fierce, that fire, and red is their color that season. But then you kind of go for the next season and purple's kind of their color. I would say, honestly, any jewel tone, you are going to find something within that jewel tone that is going to look amazing on you. So, your coach might like one thing, but the judges might like another. I would just always say go with your gut. Really go with your gut, because at the end of the day, I know a lot of competitors come to us and they say, "Oh, I saw the show last and everyone was in red, so I don't want to do red." And I said,
Mhm.
if you want to wear red, and red looks good on you, and we'll see that. We'll see when you come out of the change room, for our girls in studio. Like, there are some girls that they won't even realize that color, and they just come out and they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of this color, but like this is the color. Like, it's truly a, like, you see it in their confidence. And then sometimes they'll struggle and say, oh, like, I really didn't want to wear this color because of X, Y, and Z. And it's like not even like a weird color. It's a primary color.
Yeah.
Like, it is a core color. And then I always just say, like, make sure you're not making that decision based on what you saw girls up on stage, because we see pro shows all the time. You'll get a full class, like full top 5 of red, full top 5 of purple, full top 5 of blue. So,
Yeah.
like, don't necessarily go and try and be different, because that just do what your heart is set on. And I'll be honest, some girls will say, hey, Chris, like, I want to do a white suit. And I'll be like, like, here are the cons of white. The only pros here are that you want to wear it and you feel super, super confident. Heck, you might feel so confident that, like, people aren't even going to see that color on you because you just radiate. Whereas opposed to if you choose the green, you're going to look amazing. But if your heart is set on that color and your confidence shines in that color, I can't stop anyone. I can just only guide them. And
Yeah.
that's what I like to do. I like to guide and make suggestions, but never rule out anything, because at the end of the day, you're prepping those 18, 20 year, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's not me, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think that something I tell some clients that I sense are kind of overthinking a part of the process is just like, it's just bodybuilding. Like, even if you're a pro, it's like, yes, there's obviously more at stake when you're a pro, especially if you're a high level pro. But at the end of the day, like, you have to go with your gut. I agree, or you have to go what like feels best, even when it comes down to like, some things with coaching, like, I saw this person does this kind of cardio and they don't like that kind of cardio. Like, should I be doing this? Like, am I doing it all wrong? I'm like, no, like, you do what makes sense for you and your body. And I think that goes for anything in the sport, is just like, yes, there's some things that might be more optimal. Like, I personally would never wear an orange suit or like a green suit because I just don't like those colors on me when I'm tan, and because of how it makes my hair look. So, because I don't like that really gold, yellow, blonde as much, and certain colors make that pop out more. And I just don't see it on stage. I don't see orange suits on stage outside of like someone with like really, really dark, dark skin. I think I've seen like one woman wear that color and actually look good in it. But yeah, everyone has their colors that they're probably kind of like scared of.
Mhm.
Those are mine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I always say
Um,
don't overthink it. Some girls toy down right to like being so indecisive of their middle connector. And it's just like, come on, like, if it's boiling down to
yeah.
judges
What
like
are
judging you on a middle connector, we've got issues here. We've got issues.
Yeah, and I think I see that most like in terms of judges making a comment on suits that actually like you should actually listen to. I would say on like at the very high levels of pro, especially pro bikini, where someone, because bikini is, especially, I think you're like splitting hairs so finely at the pro bikini level when you're thinking of like top 5 to top 2. And it's like I remember, my friend Daraja, she wore pink at one show, and I think she wore it partially because like she loves pink, it's her favorite color, and she's a top level Olympian. and the judges told her it just kind of like softened her a little bit too much. And I think that was her goal, was that it did soften her a little bit, but it went a little far in terms of like the what they were going for. And so she's tried a few different things, and she's always goes back to kind of like a blue or a teal, because that's what pops on her the best. What would you say is like a big mistake you've made in your business that you've learned from and has like made you successful today?
That's a really good one. Wow, that's a really good one. I mean, a customer service is everything. Um, I'm trying to think back to the early days. What I've learned, it's been customer service related for sure.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, it just comes down to boiling down to listening to your clients, and providing the most optimal customer service that you possibly can, and not stepping over the small details of things. And that's just like that. It honestly just comes down to articulation and communication. And I think that is a big void in today's society. I think we don't talk about the little things that truly matter. So it would be making sure that we're on the same page. Like, we might think we're on the same page, but I will sometimes, if I'm not 100,000% confident that my client and I are on the same page, I will re-ask the question like as many times as I have to, because sometimes they think we're on the same page. I think we're on the same page. We're not on the same page. And that would be a big thing of that. And I've learned my lesson. So this is where one of my biggest lessons is we have some girls that fully trust the process. Like, they are like, hey, Krista, like, this is what I want. Boom. And we're like, okay, you know what? I'm getting that you are fully trusting the process and you are trusting us to make your suit. A mistake that I had learned in frustration would be a client who is looking for something specific. We spend weeks and weeks going back and forth via email, and they're not able to make a decision. So then they say, you know what, I trust you.
They don't fully trust.
They don't fully, because they have no idea what they want, that they're just giving up. And at one point, a few years ago, many years ago, yeah, about 3 or 4 years ago, I said, you know, okay, you're going to trust the process. Okay. Do you think they were happy with their suit?
No.
They were not happy with their suit. So that day forward, I will not, like, it is a hard line. If you like, I will not stop communicating and articulating myself, as frustrating as it may be, to make sure that one client out of 1,000 that is super uncertain and can't make a decision for her life, I will work harder to make sure that you make that decision. And
Yeah. And
like,
like put it on them too. Like I think that's a really important part of customer service, is like if you are dealing with someone with that kind of like uncertainty, is like allowing them, asking them certain questions that like force them to kind of self-discover. Like asking them what do you like better, or do you not like this, or whatever questions you ask them. I'm sure you have specific things that help you a lot in the process that you've learned over the years. But I agree. I see that even in coaching too. Always just
so cute.
but asking people questions so that they can hear their own answers, or in your case, maybe like write their own answers. So then you can always go back and be like, per this email thread, this is why I did what I did. Because I think that's a big part of, like, at least if they know that they made that choice, not you just kind of went wild with it, that helps for their peace of mind, knowing like, well, I did ask for this, so can I really be mad if I don't like it?
Yeah. And I think a big thing is, we make sure our correspondence is very streamlined. So with social media and all these different avenues of WhatsApp, DM, email, all these things, email, or it's not happening. And I think that is for younger business women and girls getting involved in the industry and coaching or something. Don't feel it's rude to set a standard of, okay, this is how I need people to contact me. Because if I had girls WhatsApping me, DMing me, emailing me, all of these different things, you're going to get so confused. Like, make your life simple, set rules for yourself, because it's just at the end of the day, it's kind of like self-respect, because it's like you can't be
Mhm.
running around like a rag doll answering someone's question from DM to email, and that's where things do get missed. So
Mhm.
one thing that I would always recommend is set a hard line. If DMs are your thing, stick with DMs. If emails are your thing, stick with emails, because I know that I would miss things if someone asked me a question via DM. I'm not the best at going back and making notes on that.
Mhm.
Like, my notes are in our email correspondence, and that's kind of where everything stays.
Yeah, I really love that about you too in terms of like your business, because that boundary, it's like, yeah, it might seem like over the top to some people, be like, no DMs, I can't DM my suit maker. But at the same time, like, well, you're getting much better service because this is how the suit maker works.
Mhm.
They have a business. It's not just like, a little side hustle. It's a full ass business. And I agree. The same thing was like, I don't, my clients, they're totally welcome to DM me if they want to respond to my story, or send something fun or whatever,
Mhm.
tag me, but don't ask me about your plan in the DMs. Don't
Yeah.
ask me like an important question, because whatever the answer is, I can't file that away in my email, or I can't look back on it in our WhatsApp. So it's I I read something about boundaries setting, how it's basically like designing your life, designing how you want to live your life. When we set boundaries, we're telling people, like, this is how I am. This is what I need from others. This is how I work. And a lot of people, I think, shy away from setting boundaries in like relationships, in their business, with family or whatever. And I don't know why. Now that I've seen the power of setting boundaries, it's like, well, why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I tell people, like, this is it? This is how to do this.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Um, what do you see for like the future of KH Customs? Because I know you guys have like done a lot of streamlining this year, especially with like your athlete program, and you have more team members than you did a few years ago. What is like? Do you have a trajectory that you want to be on for the
Yeah,
next few years?
actually, yes. Yes, we do have a trajectory. Prior to COVID happening, I know it's crazy because it's been 4 years,
I
and like,
know.
you talk about it, just like sounds ridiculous. But prior to COVID, we had a whole team set, and I was going back and forth. So a back history of before I started Cage Customs, I was in sales. And so I worked for a company that was Canadian American, and I was in the US a lot, and I was traveling a lot. And I just knew, based on Canadian volume versus American volume, to always get your foot in the door in the American market, period. Like, you just have to do that. So as I started Cage Customs, I was still working on my other sales company, and so I would meet girls at our condo in Chicago, at our condo in Florida, and kind of have build a grassroots there while still having our headquarters here in
Yeah.
Ontario. And so once I developed a team, a nice full team, I said, you know what? Okay, we're going to fully, like, I'm going to go down to Florida, go for a few months, really sink our teeth in there and expand into a second location. Of course, the world shut down, lost basically my entire team, and we had to build from the ground up again. So here we are now, 4 years later, building from the ground up again. My goal for next year is to come around to a spot where we can start getting back to that and start creating another grassroots in Florida. Have more suit consultations in our Florida area. We have a condo in Hallandale, so that's like
Oh,
Hallandale
cool.
Beach area. So it's really nice. You just have girls in, have a little spare bedroom as our little studio. My sister, she one's a holistic nutritionist. Kyla does her cookies, so she's all over the place. My other sister does hair and makeup. So we have our little
Do
kind
the
of,
sisters live down there, or do they live up
no, they're
in
here,
there?
but we all kind of have that little spare room in one of the condos that we kind of just have it as like one of our offices. So it's like a
That's great.
little satellite office for all of us. So we can just do that. So that's what I want to get back down doing, is getting grassroots, developing more of a structure down there,
Yeah.
for next year. That is kind of like the trajectory that we're going.
I love that. And I think, especially since you are in Canada, it's a little harder to get up and out of there too for Americans. It's like a whole thing. So yeah, I really like that. I'm excited to be a part of it if I can be. If you need one in Texas, let me
I
know.
know, I know, I know. You know what? I've never actually visited Texas, and it's like on my bucket list. So
Oh, it's a fun time. It's good. Like it's hot, but yeah, you should definitely come down for like a big show. Like the battle or the Texas Pro is like one of the biggest, like really good shows. It's coming up in like 3-4 weeks in August. That's a really big one that I think they turned into like a super show. So they have like a bigger expo and like more stuff going on. So I'm excited about that. But what have you seen that has like changed the most since you started to now in terms of like just what suits look like, what people are asking for, like what has been those types of changes?
So when I first started, so that would be 2015. Interestingly enough, so in 2015, Canada was not a part of the NPC. So the NPC IFBB, Canada was not a part of that. They actually had their own CBBF. But
Oh, okay.
when I competed, I had an American coach, I had an American post. So John Meadows was my coach, Trish Warren
Oh,
was my
wow.
posing coach, and then I had an American suit designer, Tammy Marie. So I was very much geared
I mean, that
to
makes sense.
more American, and I just knew that it was coming to Canada. Canada's just slow for everything. So I just knew that that was coming. Like even when I was posing at my show, they told me that my posing was wrong. And I said, no, you guys are just 2-3 years behind. Like it is what it is. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is. And sure enough. So um, when I started making suits, I was frustrated by the Canadians because at their like bikinis, they covered like 90% of their glutes. And at nationals, the head judge would actually rip out the bikini scrunch and like plaster bikini bite and like try and cover the entire glutes. Like it was insane. She would cut their earrings. Like if the earrings were like beyond 2 inches, like she'd snip the earrings. It was crazy.
Wow.
This is probably like people probably don't even remember this because this was like, yeah, this was the
2015.
early days.
Yeah. Wow.
So really, we kind of brought more competitive, like we pushed the envelope in Canada for Canadian cuts. Like that's
Mm,
just we just kind of kept on pushing. I said, it's a bodybuilding competition. Like we're not covering here. Unfortunately, we have to show our glutes if we're being judged on our glutes.
yeah.
Like that's just there's no way around it. So really, altogether, it's a combined push almost because coaches want to show more of their clients' glutes. So in about 2018, there seemed to be a heavier push for smaller bottom coverages
Yeah.
to the point
Across
now
all
where
divisions, I think. Because
across
I
all
remember
divisions.
my figure suit that I turned pro in and at nationals, I actually borrowed it, and I think it was a Tammy Marie suit actually, and it definitely covered like a lot more of my glutes than I would probably want now because it was like a full like 2-3 inches on either side of the crack, and like it didn't look weird because like everyone had suits like that. It wasn't like full coverage, but it definitely wasn't like basically a thong how they are now.
Yeah, no, we can't go smaller. Like there's no way we can go smaller.
Especially for
Like
bikini.
it just can't happen. So, but with the coverages, what we have also seen is the evolution of the physique. Like we're
Yeah,
thinking, think 2012 Nicole Wilkins Miss Olympia versus 2024 Sid Gillen, or sorry, 2023 Sid Gillen Miss
yeah,
Olympia. Like the night and day difference between
totally.
physiques is just it's radical. Or like for example, when Aaron Stern competed in the mid 2010
Figure, yeah.
2015 in figure, she's like just modified the littlest things, and she's a bikini competitor now.
Hmm.
Like it's just wild. So it's that transformation between kind of everything kind of gets a little bit more extreme. But I hope we're at the tip of the extreme for both the competition suits and the physique aspect of it all, and we can kind of stream,
Chill.
chill now.
Well, it's funny you say that because I also wonder, like, what there has been so many little changes. Like, you never see the dangly connectors in
No.
bikini anymore. Thank God. But
Yeah.
like, what about that will like change in the next 5 years? Because like things will automatically, like things change, but
Oh,
I can't imagine there be like what could be that change, honestly, like from where we're at now.
you know, honestly, it'll be a pro, like a high level pro. If she wants to do it, she will do something radical, and like it'll become a trend. Like it just
Yeah.
will. You know,
Yeah.
when we put Alexis Adams,
Mhm.
our wellness competitor, she really wanted, like, we kind of designed like a pink suit for her a
Oh, the
couple
velvet, right?
years before the velvet. So,
Okay.
or after the velvet, I'm not entirely sure, but it turned out that later on that year, Maureen won the Olympia with a pink suit. So that kind of like
Yeah.
started that little pink trend. And so she's like, it's honestly, and then now pink is huge, when before people were
Before,
like,
like nobody was wearing
like
pink.
no one would wear pink. Our head judge here was just like, hell no, no pink. And now like a lot high level pros wearing it. So it's like, okay, it's trendy, and then it'll fade just like everything else, and it'll come back. And that's the same thing, the rotation with colors. I think this year is kind of cool though, because there has been a lot of diversity in the colors.
Hmm.
There are some years where it's just like red and blue, and then like you only have a few purple and green. But
Yeah.
with the diversity of like green being back as a popular color, you get the nice diversity. So it's nice that we're not doing the same exact same things all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think like going back to what you said about like not thinking that what not limiting yourself to just one type of color is important, and also knowing that like trend trend is a trend because it's like in our heads, right? And so like Maureen winning the Olympia with pink, it's not that she won the Olympia because it was pink. She
No.
won because she looked fucking great, and
Yeah. Yeah.
she came ready, and
Yeah.
she looked good in pink too. Like that suit fit her really well. It was a good color on her with her coloring, but like she probably would have won in a different color too.
She
Just
probably would
knowing,
have a paper bag.
yeah, exactly. And so I think the biggest thing is having a suit that fits you really well, fits your physique, which comes from, a suit maker that understands how to fit a physique
Yes.
like you do so well, and just like a color that makes you confident.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing is like, are you confident in it? But also like how confident are you in your physique and your posing and everything like that.
It's the whole package. It's the whole
Yeah.
package for sure.
Yeah. What is like the number one piece of advice you'd give to competitors as they're like thinking about what suit maker to do, what type of suit, what color?
It's cool because, like I said, like the suit community is so small. You'll be able to find your suit maker. Like it's a vibe. It really
Hmm.
is. You'll be able to find a company that you're like, you know what, I really like this company. And then, of course, following girls that are ambassadors for them also are very, very helpful. Do you like these competitors? Do you like what they bring to the stage? Do you like what they represent? Like they are, like, I appreciate you being a KH Customs athlete because you're a wonderful athlete. Like you're a wholesome person. Like you're a great ambassador to the sport of bodybuilding. And that's what I want my future clients to see when they're looking for a suit maker. Like,
Yeah.
you got your head on your shoulders, you are awesome, and you're just a great representation to KH Customs. And that's what I want clients to see when they're looking for a suit maker. And it just all comes down to just finding you'll mesh with a company. You will mesh
Yeah.
with a company for sure.
I definitely agree with that. Like any client that I've sent to you that has gotten a suit from you, they just like, that's one of their biggest things that they say is that like, she just listens so well. She does such like, she just knows exactly what I wanted and she knocks it out of the park. And it's like such a good experience from beginning to end and like past that, that I think you can't replicate easily. I've worked with multiple suit companies, whether it's like as a coach, knowing a client is working with them, or like I've worked with another company previous to KH Customs that just like I could tell it wasn't my vibe. And I probably should have seen red flags earlier on than I did. Um, I had an experience where like I wanted the cut, especially at the top of my suit, to be more in line with what pros are wearing and less in line with what I was seeing from them, which was more like a bikini, but on a figure suit, like with the connectors. And like that was really the only change was just like the clips. And because it was such like a harsh straight triangle for the top, and with figure suits that's just like a little bit more nuanced or like curved. I don't know what the difference is really, but it definitely looks different than a triangle. And I remember them telling me, and this was like that point I should have walked away. They told me like, well, we're not going to change the cut of our suit, but we'll consider it when figure gets more popular. I'm like, figure is popular. Like you have hundreds of figure competitors, and the like look at these pros. None of them are buying your suits. So why would you say that? It was just such a weird statement to make to your athlete who's a figure pro.
Mhm.
And that's what it's like, finding that vibe of like the people that are going to listen to you and the people that are going to believe in your vision and the color that you want for yourself and like really work with you as a team. I always tell people like Krista puts her heart and soul into your suit, so like you're not going to be disappointed.
Yeah, no, and I get it in a certain perspective, especially with figure. And I think being a figure athlete back in the day myself, that's what like it's figure suits are very difficult. They're not just like simple creatures. They are difficult and in they're hard to
Designs are
do.
so much more intricate than with bikini.
Yeah,
You
and
generally
even
just have like one or two colors in bikini.
yeah, and but that's another thing that has been kind of trending now that you speak of it is that actually more simple figure suits have been trending over the last several years rather
Yeah.
than the elaborate figure designs. So that's kind of cool too, because when I first started, it was really designer bust when it came to figure suits. And then it kind of
Mhm.
went into, ombres. And now you even see girls just doing like a full scatter in figure, which is it's kind of cool to see that too. It's nice to see the different diverse options where you're not having
The
to
changes.
really be fit into that little box. But no, at the end of the day, like the suit designers that do I'm just sitting here like thinking of other suit designers wanting to like just be like, hey, these people are awesome. These people are awesome. Like, but no, like really, like I am though. But like really, like another one that works her butt off is Bethany by Evo Suits by B. She's
Evo
awesome.
suits, is that what you said?
Yes, yeah, Bethany.
Yeah, my friend Candace uses her, I think.
She's awesome. Like
Yeah,
honestly, figure suits are not for the faint of heart. So the companies that kind of do them and like work and try really hard, because all you have to do is try your best. Like that's all it is.
yeah.
Try your best, and you just that's just
Especially
really
because it's the most expensive part of your prep, pretty much, in terms of like a single purchase. People are spending anywhere from 500 on the low end to over 1,000 for a good
Mhm.
custom suit, and you as the suit maker or the person making it like has to really think about that. Like, wow, this person's spending a lot of money on this. Like, yes, it's expensive. Like, so it makes sense that it's that much money, but like you don't want them to be disappointed. You want them to feel like really, really good about it. So they're not even thinking about how much money they spent on it
Mhm.
when they get
Yeah,
it.
no, and that's our ultimate goal for sure.
Yeah. Well, you guys do an amazing job, and I'm so happy to have had you on the podcast to talk suits. If anyone wants to follow KH Customs, they're just on Instagram, KH Customs. Obviously, you have your location in Toronto. If people want to visit, hopefully one in
But we
Florida
will, yeah,
soon.
we will be definitely getting back into the suit consultations at our Hallandale location, hopefully before Christmas, if that's possible.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on. I will let you go, but have a wonderful day. And everyone, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.